Picture two couples. Same city, same apartment building, nearly identical $110,000 household income. One couple quietly loses $650,000 from their retirement. The other retires 4 years earlier with $240,000 more in the bank. The difference? That daily coffee run and lunch habit most couples think is completely normal. Today, I'm showing you exactly how this trap works and the 6 simple rules that permanently close it without feeling deprived. Let me start with a number most couples have never honestly calculated. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends $3,639 per year eating outside the home. But that figure is averaged across retirees, single adults, rural households, and everyone who actively tracks their spending. When you narrow the lens to dual-income working couples between 25 and 45 living in any mid-size or major metro area, the number is substantially higher. Consumer spending research consistently shows that working couples in metro areas spend between $600 and $850 per month on combined coffee, weekday lunches, and casual weeknight takeout. Not special date nights, not birthday dinners, just the invisible daily drip, the $6.50 oat milk latte on the way to the office, the $15 grain bowl for lunch, the $42 DoorDash order on Wednesday night because nobody has energy to cook. That's $650 a month, $7,800 a year. Over a 40-year working life at a conservative 7% annual investment return, $650 a month invested, instead of spent compounds to approximately $1.73 million. And before you say it, no, I'm not telling you to never buy coffee again. What I'm telling you is that treating this category as invisible, unavoidable, and automatic is an unconscious decision to trade away 7 figures of future wealth for habit and convenience. Here's what nobody tells you about this particular trap. Unlike most financial traps, it doesn't feel like a trap at all. It feels like a reasonable response to being a tired, busy adult. And that's exactly what makes it so expensive. Let me run the actual numbers the way they work in real life. 2 cups of specialty coffee per day, one each at $6.50 a cup, $13 a day. 5 days a week, $65. Per month, $260. Per year, $3,120, just on morning coffee. Add weekday lunches. 2 people, 5 days a week, averaging $14 per person at a fast casual spot or through a delivery app. $28 per day, $140 per week, $560 per month, $6,720 per year. Now add a modest 2 weeknight takeout orders per week at $40 per order, which is the average DoorDash total once you include the delivery fee, service fee, and tip. That's $320 a month, $3,840 a year. Total, $13,680 per year, $1,140 per month. Not $650, $1,140. This is the first revelation that hits most couples when they run the honest numbers. They expected to see $600 or $700 a month. They find $1,100 or more because they're only consciously accounting for the purchases they remember, not the invisible routine spending that happens on autopilot. And here's where the second cost enters the picture. That $1,140 a month is coming out of after-tax income. If your combined household income sits in the 22% federal tax bracket plus state taxes, every after-tax dollar you spend required you to earn approximately $1.35 before taxes. So you're not really spending $1,140 on food you didn't plan and probably won't remember by next week. In earned income equivalent, you're spending closer to $1,540 a month. Then there's the opportunity cost layer. Every dollar that exits your account into a coffee cup or takeout container is a dollar not compounding. A couple that invests $1,000 a month, starting at age 30, accumulates approximately $2.6 million by age 65 at 7%. A couple that invests $500 a month over the same period because the other $500 is going into food ends up with $1.3 million. The difference is not a raise, not a promotion, not a lucky investment. It's the daily food habit running silently in the background, creating a $1.3 million gap between two otherwise identical financial lives. That's not a typo. Here are the 6 rules that financially deliberate couples use to permanently diffuse this trap, not by eliminating all food spending, but by building a system where every dollar spent is a choice rather than a default. Rule 1. Name the real number before you try to change anything. Pull 90 days of actual bank and credit card statements. Calculate the real monthly total spent outside the home. Not an estimate, not a gut feeling. The actual number. Most couples who do this for the first time feel a specific kind of shock. They expected something like $400 to $500 and find $900 to $1,000, $100 or more. The gap between the mental number and the real number is itself the mechanism of the trap. You cannot make deliberate decisions about something you're not honestly looking at. The naming exercise is not about guilt. It's about replacing a comfortable fiction with a number, because numbers can be changed, and fictions cannot. Rule 2. Treat home-prepared meals like bill payments, not optional events. Most people treat cooking at home as something they'll do when they have time and energy. That framing guarantees failure, because tired always beats motivated. Financially free couples treat 3 to 4 home dinners per week as a fixed, non-negotiable obligation scheduled, not optional. Sunday afternoon becomes the 2 hours that prevents $300 in weeknight delivery orders. The prep isn't glamorous, but a simple meal from the fridge at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday beats a $42 DoorDash order, plus fees, plus tip, every single time. You get the food satisfaction and keep the money. Rule 3. Apply the cost per satisfaction test before every food purchase outside the home. Before spending $17 on a grain bowl at lunch, ask one honest question. Will this meal be meaningfully better than something I could have brought from home for $3? Not slightly more convenient. Meaningfully better, in a way I'll still appreciate in 2 hours. For most weekday lunches at most fast casual chains, the honest answer is no. It's competent. It's fast. It's not $17 better. The meals that genuinely pass this test, a restaurant you truly love, a cuisine you cannot replicate, a meaningful meal with someone who matters, those deserve your money. The forgettable Tuesday grain bowl that you won't remember by Thursday does not. Over time, this test rewires your relationship with food spending from default behavior to active choice. That shift alone is worth thousands of dollars a year. Rule 4. Automate the savings transfer at the exact moment you reduce the spending. This is the step most people skip, and it determines whether reduced food spending actually builds wealth or simply creates spending room in another category. Lifestyle has a gravity. Available money gets filled. If you cut your food spending by $500 a month but leave that $500 sitting in checking, it will be absorbed by something else within the week. The rule must be executed immediately. On the same day you implement any food reduction, set up an automatic transfer for the equivalent amount directly into an investment account or high-yield savings. It happens on the first of the month. It happens before you see the money. It happens regardless of how you feel that day. This structural move is what transforms a behavioral change into a wealth-building system. The couple who automates the difference becomes the couple with $700,000 more at retirement. The couple who reduces food spending but leaves the money in checking is still wondering 5 years later why the account never grows. Rule 5. Set a shared weekly food budget in dollars, not intentions. Vague intentions: we should really spend less on lunches. We should try to cook more fail at a rate approaching 100% over any meaningful time frame. Specific shared dollar agreements succeed at a dramatically higher rate, and the reason is not complicated. You can track a number, you cannot track a vague intention. Have one conversation, once, where both partners agree on a specific weekly dollar amount for discretionary food spending, coffee, lunches, and weeknight takeout combined. Write it down somewhere you'll both see it. Track it together. Financial behavior research on couples consistently shows that shared, explicit financial goals improve both financial outcomes and relationship satisfaction simultaneously. The budget stops being a constraint one partner is enforcing and becomes a shared commitment both partners made to a shared future. Rule 6. Calculate your specific lifetime cost and put it somewhere visible. Take your current monthly discretionary food. Spend your real number from Rule 1. Multiply by 12 for the annual figure. Then apply 7% compounding over your remaining working years. The result is your personal, specific lifetime cost of the current habit. Write that number on a sticky note inside a kitchen cabinet. Set it as a phone lock screen. Put it wherever you'll see it at the moment you're about to make an autopilot food purchase. This works because of loss aversion, the most powerful lever in behavioral economics. Researchers have established that people feel losses approximately twice as intensely as equivalent gains. When the $6.50 morning coffee is mentally linked to its real compounded lifetime cost, the behavioral equation changes permanently. You're no longer choosing between coffee and nothing. You're choosing between a habit and a very specific, very personal number. Now let me show you what this actually looks like over 5 years in concrete terms. Couple A continues with their current system. They spend $1,100 a month on food outside the home. They don't track it. They invest $0 from this category. Over 5 years, their food spending totals $66,000 in cash, with $0 in accumulated wealth from this category. Couple B runs through rules 1 through 6. They find their real number. They build home cooking into their fixed weekly schedule. They reduce external food spending to $500 a month, a sustainable, reasonable reduction that still allows genuine enjoyment. They automatically invest the $600 monthly difference. At 7% annual return, $600 per month over 5 years compounds to approximately $43,000. Over 10 years, $104,000. Over 20 years, $312,000. Over their working lifetime, north of $750,000. Same household income. One couple is building toward options they don't yet fully understand they're creating. The other is building toward another Friday afternoon with a knot in their stomach. Here's the part that pure financial math always misses, and it's the part that actually changes behavior. The couple spending $1,100 a month on food they barely notice isn't doing it because they're irresponsible. They're doing it because they're exhausted. After 8 hours of work, a stressful commute, and a full evening of adult obligations, the path of least resistance is the one the entire food industry has spent decades engineering. The $6.50 latte is not just coffee. It's a brief, reliable, daily moment of control in an otherwise overwhelming schedule. The $15 grain bowl is not just food. It's 20 minutes of not having to decide anything in a day full of decisions. This is what researchers call scarcity mindset, and it operates not just on people in genuine financial crisis, but on anyone experiencing chronic financial stress. When you're anxious about money, cognitive bandwidth is consumed by immediate anxiety rather than long-term thinking. Studies have found that financial stress reduces effective cognitive performance by roughly the equivalent of losing a full night of sleep. Your brain is too busy managing short-term uncertainty to make long-term decisions clearly. And the trap feeds itself. Financial stress drives comfort spending. Comfort spending depletes resources. Depleted resources increase financial stress. The way out of this cycle is not willpower. Willpower is finite. The way out is building enough buffer that the daily comfort purchases stop feeling like survival. Financial psychology research consistently shows that crossing the threshold of 3 or more months of expenses in savings produces measurable improvements in decision-making quality and long-term planning capacity. The emergency fund is not just a financial asset. It is, in the most literal neurological sense, a cognitive asset. It gives your brain permission to think strategically rather than just defensively. This is why the rules in this video are designed the way they are. Rule 1 is not about shame. It's about giving your brain an accurate picture. Rules 2 through 6 are not about deprivation. They're about building just enough margin, just enough buffer, that the default food spending habits stop feeling mandatory and start feeling like choices. because they always were choices. They just didn't feel that way from inside the trap. 2 futures for the couple at the beginning. In the first future, they never run the numbers. The invisible $1,100 a month continues, frictionless and automatic. The savings account never quite gets built. The financial flexibility they talk about having someday never quite arrives. At 55, they calculate what the compound cost actually was. The number is somewhere north of $600,000. The conversation is devastating. In the second future, they name the real number this week. They have the one honest conversation about the weekly budget. They set the automatic transfer. By month 3, the system is running without daily willpower. By year 2, the account has crossed the threshold where it feels like protection rather than deprivation. By year 5, the question is no longer, where did it all go? The question is, which goal do we fund next? True wealth is not the coffee or the lunch. It is what you can choose. It is the option to take the risk because you have the cushion. It is the ability to say no to the situation that no longer fits because the account balance gives you that freedom. The $650 monthly coffee and lunch trap is not really about coffee. It is about the invisible compounding cost of treating daily spending as something that happens to you rather than something you design. If this video helped you see that number clearly, if it gave you the math to have a conversation you've been avoiding, hit that subscribe button. Every week on this channel, we take one financial trap that feels normal and inevitable and break it down to the actual math, the actual psychology, and the specific rules that change the outcome. The traps are always more expensive than you think. The rules are always simpler than you expect. See you next week.